Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports. It is May the 12th, 2022. And yes, no. Sean Marks got interviewed last night, or yesterday afternoon, asked about Kyrie Irving and his commitment. Basically, he's saying that anyone on the Nets roster has to be committed. And that just doesn't go for Kyrie Irving, is what he's talking about. So, Kyrie Irving has a player option he is not yet opted into. And watching First Take, Stephen A. Smith went at Kyrie Irving saying, you got to watch this, the first second of this, when they asked Jay Williams, should Kyrie Irving be offered a contract extension? Kyrie Irving basically goes, Stephen A. Smith rolled his eyes and he was disgusted. You could obviously tell. And it was pretty funny because Stephen A. Smith was on a rant. Again, when isn't he on a rant? I know, I get it. But he was basically saying, you should not give this guy a contract extension. You should give him a 1-year deal. And I totally agree with this, because the thing is, he brings up the numbers, right? He brings up the numbers, the amount of time that Kyrie Irving has missed. And he goes, when you offer this guy a long-term extension, he can pull off these things, right? Make sure you watch this clip. He goes off. He basically says, when he's in a long-term deal, Kyrie Irving runs the shots. Therefore, you offer this guy a short-term deal, right? So I know Sean Marks, he has a very tough decision to make. He doesn't want to make KD mad, obviously, because Kyrie is his friend. But at the same time, you're running an organization. And Amari Stoudemire, who was on First Take, basically said it was very hard to play with Kyrie Irving out and then coming in. And they had no chemistry. They had to adjust. So I totally agree with Stephen A. Smith. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear, would you offer Kyrie Irving a contract extension? Or, like me, like Stephen A. Smith said, offer him a 1-year deal, because he has not yet opted into the player option, which allows him to make something like $36.9 million next year. He has not yet opted into that. So if I was Sean Marks, I'd offer him a 1-year deal. Now, I'll leave the question in your guys' hands, and I'll leave you guys with this clip, and make sure you listen to what Stephen A. Smith. These are not fiction. What he's saying is not fiction. It's pure facts. The amount of times that he's missed, and basically, would you offer this guy an extension? Is what he's saying, and I 100% agree. I would just offer him a 1-year deal. Tell me what you guys think. Leave a comment in the comment section, and enjoy this clip. Jag from Jaggy Sports.
Keep it rolling, guys. This season for the Nets had many distractions, with many centering around the decisions and availability of one Kyrie Irving. After Kyrie's decision to not get vaccinated caused him to miss plenty of games, a lot of people questioned whether he's a teammate you can rely on. Yesterday, Brooklyn GM Sean Marks discussed expectations going forward and how Kyrie fits into that equation. Take a listen.
There's an objective and there's a goal at stake here. And in order to do that, we're going to need availability from everybody. We're looking for guys that want to come in here, be part of something bigger than themselves, play selfless, play team basketball, and be available. And that goes not only for Kyrie, but for everybody here.
Jay Will, you're up first. Should the Nets make a long-term commitment to Kyrie Irving?
Yes. I think his talent is off the charts, but I think it needs to start with a conversation with him, Sean Marks, and Kevin Durant to make sure that they are all on the same page. Now, my thing is, KD and Kyrie together are a different animal. And I know that we can sit here and we can say, well, look at all the years, the proof of Kyrie not being there. If we want to talk about everything going back from the bubble to, his own personal situation and then again to the pandemic. But I believe in Kyrie as a person. And I know people may not believe in him because of the history, but I believe in the relationship between him and Kevin Durant enough to trust in the fact that Sean Marks, they will be able to come to some kind of agreement about what is expected of Kyrie if they were to make that long-term commitment. But I also believe Kevin Durant wants Kyrie to be there long-term with him. And if you don't sign Kyrie to a long-term deal, how does that jeopardize your relationship with Kevin Durant? So I'm standing firm behind that. Even though I know he will argue that he doesn't think they should commit to him long-term.
Let me give some quick context. So, Amari, you were an assistant with the team, and from what I heard on Get Up, you're no longer going to be doing that.
Right.
So I don't want to put you in a compromising situation here, but just what did you think of this whole situation, and how challenging was it from a coaching perspective for this entire staff, all the politics and a lack of continuity?
Yeah, it was challenging because we didn't quite know if Kyrie was going to be available for certain games. And so then now we have to go with the lineup change, for home games because he couldn't play here in New York. And then that alone gives the players that are going to play, depending on if Kyrie playing or not, they have to adjust their game according to that. And then it makes it difficult for the rest of the team to build chemistry because you're not sure who's going to play and if Kyrie's going to play or not. So I think with having him available for the full length of the season will be helpful and beneficial for the Nets.
I want to make sure you finish. I want to make sure. I want to make sure you got time. You finish? You finish?
I'm done.
Okay. So I took the liberty of looking at the Nets schedule here, not to set their record ever. How many games was played this last season? Wasn't that 82? Mm-hmm. How many games was played last year? Wasn't that 82? Mm-hmm. How many games were played the year before that when the season was halted because of the pandemic? Didn't that end up being 72 games? Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Kyrie Irving has played 20, 54, and 29 games. That means Kyrie Irving missed 52 games the first year, albeit due to injury. Mm-hmm. He missed 28 games last season. He missed 53 games this year. And they've been out of the first round once. Hell, you mean long term. I'm looking at the camera. Kyrie Irving is due to make $36.9 million next year. I'd give Kyrie Irving $50 million a year. He's that spectacular. 1 year at a time. You got to show up to work, bro. I've been saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it as long as I'm breathing. Kyrie Irving, if there is a brother that will find an excuse to get out of work, it's him. And I don't mean get out of work like he don't work hard. See, that's the trick. That's where people twist stuff when they want to come and defend him and they want to protect him. I'm not talking about you, Jay. They want to do all of this stuff.
I hear
you. Like, for example, when Kyrie was not allowed to play, you know what I believe he was doing? He was busting his butt getting ready for the season. Kyrie, the kind of dude, he going to be in the gym. He going to put in the work. He ain't going to be out of shape. I challenge anybody on this planet Earth to tell me that I'm wrong about this Kyrie. You tell Kyrie to do something at 1 o'clock, he want to do it at 3. You tell him to do it at 3, he want to do it at 5. You want him to do it at 5, he want to do it at 10. He going to put in the hours. He going to put in the work. It's the notion that he got to answer to somebody other than himself. He can't take. He wants to do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He don't want to answer. He don't want to look at anyone as an authoritative figure. And why is Kevin Durant his boy? Because that's his boy. He gonna ride and die with him. He ain't flaking on Kyrie 1 inch, at least publicly. He ain't doing that. And so because of that, he will get to do things his way. See, people assuming that I'm talking about Kyrie's not gonna work. False. Kyrie will put in the work. Kyrie will be ready. And the bigger the challenge, the more that brother gonna show up. He ain't gonna shrink beneath the spotlight. He gonna show up and he gonna show out because that's who he is, which is why he deserves his money. The problem is the more a long-term agreement you insulate and secure him with, the more it empowers him to ignore authority because he doesn't view anybody else as authority. See, the Nets should be privileged to have him. He shouldn't feel privileged to make $36.9 million next year, or $50 million, or $200 million. No. You're lucky to have him. Why should he answer to anybody? So what I say is, Kyrie, you really want to show what you made of? Why don't you opt in? Take this last year at 36.9, because from a talent perspective, we all know the brother worth the $200 million, $250 million. Hell, $300 million. Kyrie worth it. If you told me that I don't have to worry about Kyrie missing more than 12 games a year, I pay Kyrie Irving $300 million right now without blinking because the brother box office, and I'm going to get my money back because the minute they see him, he going to play. The problem is if you give him that money more than 1 year at a time, Kyrie will use that to navigate and circumvent his way around authority, showing up and doing your job on a consistent basis, a job you volunteered for, you signed up for. This ain't indentured servitude. Nobody forced Kyrie to do this. He chose to do it, and then he chooses to take off, but he still gets his money. I'm not paying him long term. I'm giving him 1 year at a time. All the money he deserves, but 1 year at a time, an option after every year. Opt in. You making $36.9 million next year. Opt in. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, interesting because, I mean, you do have to try to figure out a way to negotiate the contract moving forward with Kyrie, right? Because as a GM or owner, you want to make sure your star player is playing majority of the games. And how do you make that happen, right? You have to figure out a way because you're not sure if he says, okay, Stephen A., I am going to play, majority of the games, I'm locked in, right? But then when the season happens and he doesn't hold up to that agreement, then now what? Now you're stuck with this contract you gave him, and you're stuck with it. But if you either 1 year deal or you figure out a way to negotiate the contract properly,
some type of stipulation.
You
get your money based
there you
on.
Go.
Absolutely.
Pay for play. That's
Absolutely.
all. That's what you're talking about. So I'm sorry, because this has to happen. You ain't working. Let me double check. You ain't working for the Nets anymore, are you?
No.
Okay, good. So I'm going to ask you this question. You just brought up a pay-for-play option, which nobody would really want to hear. I mean, how dare anybody say
sure not.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it, damn it. The hell with it. Forget it more. I'm saying the hell with him, yes. But I ask you this question. Could you please put in the words what Kyrie Irving's situation last year you believe did to the Brooklyn Nets championship aspirations? Could you do that, please?
I mean, we can always speculate on if he played. We may have won a championship. We could have had a chance to compete for a title, which is true. It could have definitely helped us in the way on the side of competing for a championship. But we don't know that for sure, right? I mean, you got teams that are playing great basketball, so we don't know for sure if we would have won a championship if Kyrie would have played. It would have enhanced our chances to win a championship. But you can't guarantee that would happen.
I ain't asking for guarantees. I asked you a direct question. What kind of an impact do you believe Kyrie Irving's situation had on this season's championship aspirations? That's a direct question.
Yeah, I think it hurt us. It definitely hurt us because we didn't have the consistency with Kyrie enough to build the chemistry for the group of the team, right? He plays, only on the away games, depending on which city it is, can't play in New York. So therefore, we have different lineups and different matchups depending on the game scheduling. And so it made it difficult for us as coaches to figure out, who's going to play in spite of Kyrie. The chemistry's not quite there, probably like we would like for it to be. So it was difficult for us to manage that. It was definitely a hard
Did
deal.
it hurt the chemistry between James Harden and the teammates?
I'm not sure if it hurt between James Harden and his teammates because I feel like obviously we couldn't build the proper chemistry with the total group to play those big three guys, James, Kev, and Kyrie, to play at the same time. We didn't have a lot of games to experience that with those three guys on the court. So I can't really comment on whether that would have affected those three guys together, but it didn't help.
Last comment, because I feel I owe Steve Nash this. I have been somebody who feels that Steve Nash needed to go. But it wasn't because of his coaching abilities. It's because I felt like you have to have a coach strong enough to deal with this kind of nonsense that he could throw in your direction. So I was of the mindset either Kyrie got to go or Steve Nash got to go. Because Steve Nash, to me, hasn't really been given an opportunity to really coach this team because he's never had a team because of one shenanigan after another that has transpired. Okay, and I ain't even bringing up the James Harden stuff and how James Harden told him one thing and did another. Forget all of that. James Harden wanted out and we got all of that. He wanted to be with Daryl Morey. That is not a crime. But the point is, Steve Nash, as much as I did not like the fact that a guy with no coaching experience instantly gets a job hovering over a championship contender, I want to be fair to him by saying He has not been given a true opportunity to coach a complete team in his years in Brooklyn, and he will never be given that opportunity as long as KD and Kyrie are together because of Kyrie. So either Kyrie goes or Steve Nash has to go, and somebody that can come in there and be like, hell with that. This is what we going to do. Here's how we going to do it, and I don't give a damn what anybody says. That's my position. You don't have to comment.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I think Steve and Kyrie can both figure it out. I feel like Kyrie has to make a commitment to himself in the game of basketball on how committed he is to being a great player, because I feel like Kyrie should have been on that top 75 list. But at the same time, you have to now take that as motivation and going into next season and proving yourself, prove to yourself that you are a top player and do it consistently throughout the season.
But you and I both know, come on, y'all, we all know this. The only reason Kyrie wasn't on it, and I had a vote, the only reason why Kyrie wasn't on that list is because of availability. Nothing else. There's no way that Kyrie isn't a top 75 player talent-wise in the history of the game. Everyone knows that. You left him off because who the hell are you to skip work so much?
I just want to say one thing. I know before, 3 years ago, it was the injury. I know the bubble thing was a different scenario with George Floyd. But there were other players last year that did not play because they played, but there wasn't a city mandate who didn't get vaccinated.
Fair.
So,
Fair.
I do want to put that overall into
fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay.
But they didn't go on despite
I'm
what
not-
I said.
I'm-
I know that.
yeah.
Despite what I said, they didn't go on a podcast afterwards.
I
talking about
understand.
such is the life of a martyr.
I don't agree with that.
You see what I'm saying?
I don't agree with that.
You see
I'm
what
with
he
you on that.
does?
I'm with you on that.
You see what he does?
I'm with you. I don't like that.
Please.
I don't like that, but
Please. 1 year at a time. Give $50 million. 1 year at a time.
Yeah, or
1
pay
year at a
for
time.
play.
You got to show up to work.
Coming up here on First Take, you might have heard, but Stephen A had a hot take